has commended investors and non-governmental organizations whose investments have directly and indirectly benefited people of the state. Commissioner for Special Duties in the state, Barrister Femi Ogunbanwo, stated this while addressing the gathering at the 10th Charity Lecture and Appreciation Colloquium put together by the Less Privileged Children Encouragement Initiative. Bumi Adigun covered the event in Ijebu and filed in this report.
Less Privileged Children Encouragement Initiatives is a humanitarian organization which seeks to make life better for people irrespective of their color, race, gender, or religious affiliations. The initiative is interested in reaching out to African children who go to school barefoot, in terrible footwear, in torn uniform, or with empty stomach. The initiative has now clocked 10 years doing this and decided to organize their 10th annual lecture and appreciation colloquium with the theme, Hope for the Less Privileged in an Unevenly Distributed Future, an agenda for all. The brains behind this are Dr. Rotimi Akinlesi, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Special Duties, Ogun State, and his wife, Dr. Bukola Akinlesi, who also works with the Hospital Management Board in the state.
Underprivileged people live in poverty. A privilege is a right or an advantage, and people who are underprivileged lack such rights and advantages, and the means to assist and lift them up.
I tell people when they ask me, where do you get money to do all this? I'm a civil servant, and we've never written to anybody asking for money. We do the little we can do. So I get paid by the government for what I do, so my wife gets paid too, and we have volunteers who, when they like, they give what they can afford. So we don't ask for money from anybody. We do the little we can. Of course, when people see what you do and they are impressed by it and they are inspired, they will definitely support you.
Commissioner for Special Duties, Barrister Femi Ogunbanwo, is the chairman of the occasion, and he commended the initiative, promising government support for initiatives like this.
That are appealing to well-being Nigerians and companies to support environment initiatives in the realization of lofty dreams and aspirations.
One of the beneficiaries whose school fees have been paid from secondary school till date came all the way from Ebonyi State to say thank you to the organization.
It sponsored my education throughout my stay in secondary school, starting from the time I met them till I finished. And now I'm currently in Alex Ekweme Federal University, Ebonyi State, and they are still sponsoring my education.
Between 2010 and 2022, the organization has provided for over 20,000 less privileged pupils in Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Osun, Delta, and Imo states. Bumi Adigun, OGTV News.
As part of its commitment to provide adequate healthcare services and support for the people, Ogun State government has enrolled a set of triplets and the mother on the state health insurance scheme. The enrollment was facilitated by the Ogun State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tomi Koka, who led government delegation to the home of the triplets who were born on March 29, 2022 at the General Hospital, Odeda, in Odeda local government area. Sheyi Alao reports.
The role of a responsible and responsive government is to provide accessible and qualitative health care for its citizens. However, a demonstration of Ogun State proactive gesture played out recently when Lok smiled on triplets at the Commissioner for Health, who was attending a party meeting in Odeda, got attracted by this God's benevolence and visited the newborn. It is against this backdrop that Ogun State government, under the leadership of Prince Dapo Abiodun, decides to enroll a nursing mother and a newborn triplets in the state health insurance scheme. The move is to help the triplets and their mother have easy access to quality health care anywhere in the state. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tommy Coker, had in the course of the week led government delegation to Abeokuta Ilenla, the home of the triplets who were born on March 29, 2022 at the General Hospital Odeda within Odeda local government, where she had promised to give helping hand on behalf of the government.
Unfortunate thing is the father is unemployed, and you can see the environment in which the children will be looked after. So on behalf of His Excellency Prince Dr. Abeokuta, we've given them some succor.
The triplets' uncle, Mr. Sofiano Shotunde, appreciated the state government for fulfilling its promise, adding that the gesture will go a long way, helping the family to protect the kids from all kinds of diseases. Meanwhile, the commissioner also said the First Lady, who has been duly informed by the birth of the babies, will also be visiting. Sheyi Alao, OGTV News.
The Lagos State Consumer Protection Agency has ordered the closure of a distribution warehouse located at Wilma Street, Isheri Ojudu area of the state. According to a statement by the state government, the closure was ordered after the general manager of Lascopa, Afolabi Sholebo, led an enforcement team to the distribution warehouse. A video had surfaced online showing a middle-aged man selling hazardous and contaminated milk to unsuspecting members of the public at Ibidun Street in the Ojuelegba area of the state. According to Sholebo, the man disclosed during an earlier interrogation by men of the Nigerian Police Force Area C Police Station Surulere that the products were collected from the warehouse at Wilma Street in Isheri, Baja. The Lascopa boss said the actions taken against the warehouse were meant to ensure that further sales of the hazardous and contaminated milk are stopped and withdrawn from circulation in order to protect residents from consuming milk that is harmful to their health. He said the warehouse personnel distributing the unwholesome product to retailers flouted safety regulations of the food and beverage sector. Ogun State Internal Revenue Service says it has generated a total of 11.804 billion naira as revenue into the state government coffers between January and March this year, representing 83.86% of 14.076 billion naira expected for the period under review. The chairman of Ogun State Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Olugbenga Olaleye, disclosed this while presenting the agency's 2022 budget performance for the first quarter before members of the State House of Assembly Committee at the Assembly Complex, Okimoson, Abeokuta. Matthew Shomi completes the report.
Chairman of Ogun State Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Olugbenga Olaleye, represented by a board member and special advisor to the governor on corporate development and legal services, Honorable Abiodun Adeleye, disclosed that the total amount generated was 129% higher than 9.143 billion naira raked in for the same January to March 2021 period, noting that the figure excluded 4.7 billion naira expected from tax audits for the period under review. Adjudging the performance as the best in the last 3 years despite the COVID-19 challenges and downturn in the global economy, Mr. Olale stated that plans had been intensified to shore up revenue through the replacement of 17% average personal income tax (PIT) with a flat rate of 0.5% on corporate land transaction value to encourage ease of doing business and attract more potential investors.
Although the first quarter performance for 2022 is still best, put back side by side in the last 3 years altogether.
The lawmakers also appraised the budget performance of the State Ministry of Budget and Planning, Bureau of Public Procurement and Statistics. Matthew Shomi, OGTV News.
The current system of government in Nigeria should be restructured in a way that it will ensure equitable revenue sharing formula and adequate attention to the demands of minority units of the nation. This was part of the submissions of respondents who spoke with our reporter Abeokuta on resource control and the politics of revenue allocation in Nigeria. Her report.
At independence, agriculture was said to be the mainstay of Nigeria's economy, and the principle of derivation featured prominently in revenue allocation discourse. The principle again was said to be downplayed when crude oil replaced agriculture as the mainstay of the economy. This and other factors brought about the resource control agitation. The agitation for resource control, especially by some governors, complained about the lopsided nature of the current system of governance in Nigeria, and that is believed not to have been in favor of the non-oil producing areas. What did 1999 Constitution say about resource control?
At section 44, we talked about right to own properties. Then look at section 44, subsection 1, and then subsection 3. Subsection 1 says that anyone has the right to own any property, and nobody shall forcefully take land from anyone within Nigeria. But subsection 3 now gives exceptions, instances where lands can be taken from people. And one of the instances are about 3, generally speaking, where they found minerals on your land, not Fanta, Coke, and the like, so mineral resources, that is. Then resources, then 3, natural gas. So where you have bought a land and it is discovered that gold is under that land, or oil, crude oil, it can, under the law, be taken from you. And it goes further by saying that the control of and ownership of such mineral resources shall be vested in the federal government.
Or resource control, resource ownership cannot be a concurrent prerogative, as it were. It is strictly a business of an exclusive perception. And when you talk of exclusive, you are talking about federal government, you are talking about federal mind, you are talking about federal control.
They, however, advocated that a level playing ground should be considered for all states.
In my view, the constitution ought to have been drafted in a way that those resources would belong to the people of that state. Why? Another example is this. Look at the Ogoni land, Niger Delta. They have oil so much in that place, all right? If oil, not even if, when oil spills in that place, it covers their waters, their rivers. And when oil is on a river, fish under cannot breathe. People there are fishermen and fisherwomen. What that means is that business is spoiled. But when the money comes out, everybody shares it. When the problem comes out, only them suffer for it.
Resource control is very, very paramount. If you give me the opportunity of controlling the resources I have in my domain, be it under and above water, for the area I'm inhabiting, and you allow me to pay a kind of tithe or a percentage, maybe 10% or whatever the percentage is, to the federal level, the topmost, to conduct the affairs of the military, the customs, the immigration, the central bank, and police and other stuff like that, it will be okay.
On the increment or the 13% derivative of a state where the resources are generated, respondents have this to say.
It's a recipe. It is indeed a recipe. It can help in a way, but that is if it's also properly managed. It is not about formulating policies. It's about properly implementing the policies.
It's like taking my purse that has 10,000 naira, and you are giving me 1,000 be. And you're asking me, okay, she want to phone, I be 2,000. It's an insult. I should be the one saying, similarly, I have 10,000 naira, how much should I give you? That should have been the other thing. Let's correct it that way. That's my view.
They also called for deregulation and devolution of power as the solution to the problem, which has been one of the most controversial issues in the history of the country. Adebola Oshomoji, OGTV News.
You are watching OGTV News. Just ahead, Nigeria, Mauritius retains seats in United Nations Rights Committee. We will bring you the details of these and others after the break. People of Ijebu Central Federal constituency have unanimously agreed and endorsed Governor Dapo Abiodun to return as the governor of Ogun State in the 2023 general elections. This was the thrust of a political gathering facilitated by Barrister Femi Ogunbanwo in Ijebu-Ode. Bumi Adigun covered the gathering and he completes the story.
Politics now in the air. Here, people drawn from Ijebu-Ode, Udo-Bolu, and Ijebu Northeast local governments converged on Ijebu-Ode for their quarterly political meeting, which had elders and leaders of the party in the axis in attendance. The Ogun State Commissioner for Special Duties, Barrister Femi Ogunbanwo, facilitated the gathering. They said the main reason for this is to endorse Governor Dapo Abiodun for another term of office. They said, having considered the many giant strides of his administration, it is necessary to consolidate them for sustainable growth.
Anybody who is within this gathering cannot but be proud of what is being done here.
Our governor has done marvelously well, and we need to preach the gospel of the governor. And of course, we've moved our motion for his adoption for a second term.
Barrister Femi Ogunbanwo thanked them all for coming out in their large numbers to support the initiative and expressed appreciation to Governor Dapo Abiodun for evenly distributing projects across the state.
To review the activities and the performance of the governor, His Excellency Prince Dapo Abiodun, and when they look at where we were before and as at 2019 and where we are today, of course they have come together to say with one voice that it should continue beyond 2023.
Some members of the Ogun State Executive Council also joined the meeting in solidarity.
Our governor deserves second time. There's no gainsay about this.
The meeting is one of the many that have been held in recent times in the state to endorse a second term of office for Governor Dapo Abiodun in the 2023 general elections. Bumi Adigun, OGTV News.
Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State has condemned in strong terms the recent call for the suspension of the 2023 elections and installation of interim national government after the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, describing it as unconstitutional. The governor stated this while briefing journalists after an audience with the president on the state of affairs in the Eastern Heartland and the nation. Governor Hope Uzodinma was in the State House for the second time in 1 month to invite President Muhammadu Buhari for the inauguration of some critical federal road infrastructure projects executed by some administrations in the state.
Critical highways that will alleviate the sufferings of our people. And those roads have been there for over 16 years, unattended to. The overall is 44 kilometers dualized, making it 8 kilometers. The overall Okigwe is 59 kilometers, expanded from 7.3 meters to 12 meters. And Mr. President has graciously approved that he will be there to commission the roads, hoping that one day the Spirit of God will touch the heart of federal government and they may refund us either completely or some part of the money used for the construction. But what is important and uppermost in our mind as a government at the state level is to make the roads motorable.
The governor also briefed the president on the recent killing of INEC officials in the state, saying it was out of anger by criminal gangs having been repelled from attacking the correctional facility in Okigwe.
So how fortified the place was, and they now tried to escape through Itu Boma, and they ran into INEC people where they were doing continuous voter registration. and out of that anger and frustration, attacked them. 2 of the bandits have been arrested and are helping the Nigerian Police Imo State Command now to do a very thorough investigation. We are doing everything possible to ensure the situation is controlled and contained. Currently, we are on top of the situation I told you. Government is not sleeping. Nigerians should be more patriotic. Our national interests should be uppermost in our mind. Use this medium to call on Nigerian politicians to play politics without bitterness and stop letting blood here and there in the name of looking for power.
On the recent agitation by legal icon Chief Afe Babalola that an interim national government should be formed to channel a new course for Nigeria, Governor Hope Uzodinma described it as uncalled for and condemnable.
Our constitution has not provided for an interregnum. You shouldn't give a gap, otherwise you are creating room for anarchy. The constitution should be the instrument guiding our actions as a country. So, but if there is any opinion that you think that is worthy to be canvassed, superior to what is currently in the Nigerian Constitution, such opinion should be taken to the National Assembly, and then they will through due process amend our Constitution.
Strongly appealed to Nigerians to guard their utterances and work more assiduously towards achieving sustainable future for the country. The Independent National Electoral Commission has lost no fewer than 9,836 smart card readers in over 42 attacks on its offices and staff in 3 years. Also, more than 1,149 persons, including INEC employees and security officers, were killed in the 3 elections held in 2011, 2015, and 2019. Ballot papers, cubicles, and other materials were similarly destroyed. Last Friday, an INEC worker identified as Anthony Wokere was shot dead by gunmen while conducting the continuous voter registration in the Hieti-Uboma local government area of Imo State. Following the violent assault on its assets and staff, the electoral body has expressed fears over the 2023 elections, stating that there will be no results at polling units where violent incidents were orchestrated. The resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igene, warned that no return will be made where violence was deliberately precipitated to undermine the electoral process. Describing the attacks on the commission as regrettable, the resident electoral commissioner assured Nigerians that the body was devising strategies to protect its offices, assets, and personnel ahead of the 2023 general election. The High Court lacks the powers to order the deletion of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022, the National Assembly has told the Court of Appeal. It urged the Appellate Court to order the retention of the section, adding that Justice Evelyn Anyadike of the Federal High Court in Umuahia erred in law when she ordered the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami-San, to delete it. The section provides that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party. In an appeal against the judge's verdict, the federal lawmakers raised 5 grounds of appeal on why the court should set aside the March 18 judgment. It is also asking that the case be heard before the political parties hold their national conventions to select candidates for next year's general elections. Not determining the appeal before the deadline for the submission of the list of candidates will defeat the purpose of the law, the National Assembly said. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has given the parties June 3rd deadline to complete the conventions. The Petroleum Technology Development Fund says its scholarships are being awarded strictly on merit in line with the federal character regulations. According to the PTDF, equal numbers of scholarships are awarded to each state, with additional slots made available for the oil-producing states. The Executive Secretary of PTDF, Dr. Abeokuta, said this on Tuesday in Abuja. The report added that 9,659 Nigerians have been trained on its overseas and in-country scholarships since its inception. Following this report, the PTDF official said the merit-based selection was done to ensure fairness, equity, and fair play in the scholarship allocations. Gazal explained that additional slots were also made available for the best female candidate from each geopolitical zone. As for people with disabilities, he said effort was made to ensure that physically challenged candidates were provided with accessibility facilities to enable them to participate in the selection process at no disadvantage. He said in 2022, under the Funds in-Country Scholarship Scheme, the PTDF provided scholarships to 19 undergraduates as one master's degree award to persons living with disabilities. Internet has given access to children to get exposed to some inappropriate information that is beyond their age and level. Children learn more and faster from the internet rather than from home. This instills immorality among the minors and also causes a great menace in the society. In this special report, Odunayo Uriyeni examines parenting and the danger internet poses to it. Her report.
Birthing a child doesn't only make one a parent, but having the ability to nurture the child in the rightful way and manner makes one a noble parent. Considering the state of Nigeria's economy, most parents entrust their responsibilities to the care of teachers, as they have little or no time to give their children maximum attention and care. With the emergence of the internet and sophisticated digital devices, most minors have gone ahead of their parents by learning so much on the internet rather than from home. The situation is becoming worrisome as children now practice immorality due to what they see on the internet. Some concerned parents speak.
It comes down to the home. Teachers, okay, but how much will the teacher? I mean, they're in school and then they come back home and then all sorts of things.
Too many untrained children are now parents.
Some parents are careless that they do not use adequate parenting style to train up their child.
In recent times, several cases of molestation and immorality have become prevalent in schools. Evaluating the current case of a pupil of a prominent school in Lagos who was acting inappropriately with a few boys in a video that went viral. According to the National Institute of Health, teens between ages of 8 and 28 spend about 44.5 hours a week in front of a digital screen. This shows that the younger generation is growing more tech-savvy and dependent on the internet. Adekule Durosimi, an IT expert, evaluates the benefits of the internet and how parents can regulate what their children read or watch on the internet.
Now, internet has done a lot of things. Look at JAMB conducting exam. Within 2-3 weeks, you have your results, processing the admission. When you look at the tools, talking about the social media, we need to follow the procedure. If you look at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they normally put the age 16, 17, 18 to subscribe. But to my dismay, you discover that 12-year-old boy, 10-year-old girl, they are already on social media. And what is on social media, there are a lot of rules about it. We are not really regulating some of this. We have a lot of social media platforms. Facebook has about 2.3 billion active users. So how do you keep those things regulated? So I can't say because of the bad aspect of the internet, then the world has spent a lot on the internet and we cannot go back.
Nigerian culture frowns at immorality and indecency. It makes parents uncomfortable when reports of such vices keep circulating on the internet. How then can this be curbed?
This is digital era. It is now the duty of every parent, everybody, to go and follow the procedure, understand the nitty-gritty of what technology is all about. You need to guide them.
Institutions that have responsibility, that have the sole responsibility to take care of our children, that trust our children in their hands. I think they too should be up and doing. They should stand up to their rights.
At this stage that we're now, there should be law that will regulate it, that at a certain age, there must be a law. The government should see to this. It's getting out of hands.
Parenting is not a child's play. It takes wisdom and strength to bring up a child. Raising a child shouldn't just be the sole responsibility of one person, because the child one nurtured today will flourish tomorrow and makes one proud. Odunayo Oriyeni, OGTV News.
Nigeria and Mauritius have retained their seats to serve for another 4 years in the United Nations Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights from 2023 to 2026. Reports have it that candidates from the two countries are re-elected to occupy the two remaining vacant positions for Africa in the committee. The United Nations Committee is the body of 18 independent experts that monitors implementation of the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights by states parties. Egypt and Morocco were elected to occupy 2 seats of the 4 seats for Africa group in 2021, and Egypt currently chairs the committee as a member of the Africa group. The remaining 2 were contested for on Wednesday at United Nations headquarters by Nigeria, Cameroon, Malawi and Mauritius. Nigeria won at first ballot, scoring 39 out of the 54 ballots of member states. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has confirmed the appointment of CSP Olumuyiwa Adejobi as the 25th Indigenous Force Public Relations Officer. Admin Officer, Force Public Relations Department, SP Anjuguri J.C. Manza, made this known in a statement. The IGP had in February appointed Adejobi Force PRO in acting capacity. He took over from CP Frankuba, who was nominated for the Senior Executive course at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, Jos. According to Manza, CSP Olumuyiwa Adejobi studied archaeology and geography combined honors from the premier university in Nigeria, University of Ibadan. He holds a master's degree in peace and conflict studies from the same university. He had a long stint as Police Public Relations Officer in Ogun State Police Command from 2008 to 2016. He also served as PPRO Zone 2 Headquarters Onikon, Lagos in 2016 and PPRO Lagos State Police Command between September 2020 and August 2021, when he was posted to deputize the former Force PRO CP Frankumba. CSP Adejobi has carved a niche for himself in police public relations management with the experience he has gained serving as PPRO in different police commands and zones for more than a decade. Well, from OGTV, we say congratulations to CSP Ademoyo Adejobi on this well-deserved appointment. Business News is next. Do join us again.
Welcome to the business segment of the news. The federal government has announced that a new tax regime for tobacco will be implemented from June 1, 2022. Director of Technical Services, Federal Ministry of Finance, Fatima Ayatu, said this at a meeting with the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center. The program manager on democratic governance, Okeke Anya, led the organization's Tobacco Taxation Working Group. Ayatu called the tobacco industry a powerful one, assuring that the ministry is committed to checkmating illicit flow of the product into the market. She hinted that plans were underway to engage relevant stakeholders to implement a robust track and trace system. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has raised its forecast for Nigeria's economic growth in 2022 to 3.4%, citing increase in crude oil prices. However, the IMF reduced its projection for global growth to 3.6% in both 2022 and 2023, citing the impact of costly humanitarian crisis and economic damage from the Russian war on Ukraine. The IMF stated this in its April World Economic Outlook report, released as part of activities at the ongoing IMF and World Bank Spring meeting in Washington, D.C., USA. The new forecast represents 0.7% and 0.4% higher than 2.7% projected by the IMF in January for the country's economic growth in 2022 and 2023. The World Bank has voted $17 billion to tackle food insecurity, provide emergency assistance, and bolster safety nets. World Bank Group President David Malpass, who made this known at the Spring Meeting 2020 Media Roundtable in Washington, D.C., said global trade is still facing quotas, high import and export tariffs, expensive food price subsidies, and export bans on food products, warning these should stop. The World Bank chief said the international community needs to immediately step up emergency assistance for food insecurity and help bolster social safety nets, saying, from the Global Bank's standpoint, we are providing roughly $17 billion per year to strengthen food security, a big part of the global effort. The war in Ukraine will heavily weigh down on economic growth in the Eurozone, the IMF said on Tuesday, as the conflict wreaks havoc on emergency prices and the manufacturing sector. The International Monetary Fund revised its Eurozone growth forecast for 2022 to 2.8%, down from 3.9% in its January estimate, with the region's biggest economy, Germany, taking a heavier hit. According to IMF, the war has hurt some countries like Italy and Germany more than other European nations because they had relatively large manufacturing sectors and greater dependence on energy imports from Russia. Germany's economy is expected to grow by 2.1% this year, down from 3.8% previously. And finally, on the business segment of the news, the FCT administration on Tuesday sealed the Federal Ministry of Works, Federal Character Commission, and Merit House, Maitama, over 10 billion naira waste collection debt owed Abuja Environmental Protection Board. Addressing newsmen during the exercise, the board director, Usilama Brima, said the board provided waste management and other environmental services for their service providers and they refused to pay. He explained that the board had huge amount lying without response from the defaulters. Brima explained that the measure was coming on the heels of the task team set up by the FCTA Permanent Secretary Olushade Adeshola to recover over 10 billion naira owed the board by several government agencies, business premises, and residential apartments. And that's the size of the business segment of the news. I hand you back to Yabo for the rest of the bulletin.